Welcome to day 5, part 1, from suffering to joy. Enjoy! Michelle and I grew up in a house that was occupied by its former residents, the ghosts of the people that lived there before us. Our house was haunted. There was an older man that would walk near my bed every night and scare me. He had an intimidating presence. I sometimes felt cold wind blowing at me, keeping me from entering the bedroom that Michelle and I shared. Michelle and I did not get along as children. Even though we shared a space, I felt alone. I had a lot of nightmares as a child, and one night I woke up screaming, "The curtains are talking, the curtains are talking." And the old man was above my bed, near the curtains, telling me that he wanted me to die. And I was probably like 5 years old. Like many parents, it was dismissed as an active imagination, leading me to feel crazy. So if you are a parent and your child talks about this stuff with you, you have a child with spiritual abilities, we hope to help you understand it so that you can support your child on their journey without making it feel scary, because it really should be a scary thing. One night as the spirit of the old man was walking towards me to yell at me, I saw a little version of a man standing by my sister's head as she laid in bed. A voice told the little man to do something to scare the spirit of this older man so that he would leave me alone. The little man then became a big man, and he ran after the spirit of the old man, and he chased him out of the room. This little man that grew to life size was our guide Lokaous. And this was a memory that was reignited on my spiritual journey to remind me that these beings had been with us since our births. Our family moved out of this house into one that was not occupied by spirits. So I grew up, didn't experience any more hauntings or spiritual encounters. Part of me just believed I was a kid with a very active imagination. Spent my early adulthood as an atheist. I'd wrap my head around a God that would create everything and then want to punish his creation. It felt wrong. Hearing that kind of preaching just felt wrong. It didn't make me feel good. But that was most of what I heard. When I was young, I used to love the root beer flavored Dum Dum Sucker. Banks and restaurants used to give them out when I was a kid, and I always wanted the root beer one. As I got older, and I believed that all of my spiritual encounters were an active imagination of my childhood self, I started to just not see them and feel spirit as much. But one of the last times I saw them, they held a root beer Dum Dum Sucker, and they smiled. Later in life, during our spiritual journey, Michelle and I were at my house. We were talking about all of the spiritual things that we were experiencing. At this time, we were making note of things we heard of 3 times. Our teacher, Miss Sarah, recently told us that if spirit has a message for us, you will hear it 3 times. If you hear something 3 times, it is significant. Your spirit guides are trying to get your attention. They may use a bumper sticker, a license plate, birds, conversations, social media, television, dreams, books, billboards, anything that your eyes or your ears pay attention to, they will use it to get your attention. And around this time, I held on to a root beer Dum Dum Sucker, and I just felt so drawn to it, and I was just staring at it, and I told her, I don't know why I feel so drawn to this Dum Dum Sucker, but I do. I was thinking, what is its message? Then I heard a voice inside me say, I'm calling you a Dum Dum. So that was my message. Spirit likes to lighten the mood with their unique humor. In this moment, I remembered even more about the childhood that I thought I had imagined. January 10th, 2013, I was at Cincinnati Children's Hospital with my ex-husband and our 6-year-old daughter, and my new boyfriend and current husband, Scott. We took her to the ER because her lips were blue and she was pale. She wouldn't talk, which was very out of character for her. Earlier that day, her teacher called and said that our daughter was running and that it looked like she was struggling to run. We were told within hours of our hospital visit that Ellie had some sort of cancer. In days, we found out it was acute lymphoblastic leukemia type B. Hours after that, my ex-husband and I were in a living room with Ellie. She flatlined for a couple seconds. My ex-husband lifted her up. I prayed, "Oh God, no," in my head, and I heard, "What took you so long?" Ellie coughed and came back. The nurses came in and we told them that she had flatlined, and their response was it was only 4 seconds. I lost my shit that day, but I found a glimmer of spirit and God in that moment. I lost a close friend in 2010, and I started taking mediumship classes about 2015 because I wanted to find out how he died, because it's like shrouded mystery, like no one knew. During this time, Michelle was also taking mediumship classes at the same place. It's called Enchanted Moments. It's in Milford, Ohio. So we took the classes at different times, but I got sick, so we ended up graduating together. It was like a weird little thing. So one day after mediumship class, Michelle and I were sitting in a coffee shop that was next door. We were talking about spiritual things. She started asking me about my friend that had passed in 2010. She asked me if my friend that had passed was big and bald. I said he was. And she started to talk to him and tell me what he was saying. His spirit was there. She acknowledged it. So this was like my first conversation with my friend again. Michelle and I were both in shock that that moment even happened, that she was able to recognize my friend, able to have a conversation with he and I. It was like the three of us were having a conversation. It was awesome. This friend is our guide, Cosmo. This wasn't his earthly name, but he is not who he was when he was a human. He's an evolving spiritual being who just played a role here. He is not who he was. He has grown a lot on the other side of the simulation. Cosmo is one that suffered from a failure to thrive mentality, and he gave up. His death was similar to a suicide, but it was less intentional. The second he died, he saw everything for what it was. The illusion was broken, and he was left with the heartbreak and destruction that his death left on family and friends. He shares this perspective with you to keep you from walking the same path. Cosmo said he would have loved to have had a journey like this, or this book in his hands. He thinks it would have woken him up, so maybe we can help people with it now. Michelle came to my house one day and she said she wanted me to see something. I had no idea what to expect. And all of a sudden, another voice came out of her. Like a man came out of her. I could see like this spiritual overlay of another face over my sister's face. This man started screaming at me. He was petrified. He was asking me if I was going to kill him. And I wasn't going to kill him. He said, where he just was, I just killed him. He said, I just did this in another place. He said, I just drowned my sister in that life because I thought she was a devil because she was channeling this being. This makes me sick to say out loud. I felt terrible. We all come from love, and the only devils here are shitty humans, and it's our choice. There's not a spiritual devil inside of us that's making us do stuff. It's our egos. It's your ego. We should never have beliefs that allows us to hurt or harm anyone or anything. I really struggled with this information that I had just murdered my sister. I really struggled with it. It made me question my character now. It was a reminder never to cling to a belief or to force my beliefs on anyone. So I had to talk to this man and calm him down. I was able to hug him, but it took a while to be able to do so. It took time for him to see that I was not who I just was in this other life. Once he calmed down and he could feel that I wasn't going to hurt him, when he could see my energy was different than the role of whoever I was playing in this other life, once he could see that I was safe, became great friends. This was my first experience with our Lazarus guide, Lokaous. Lokaous is such a sweet soul. He's had many lives here in the simulation of life on Earth. He was Enoch, a prophet in the Old Testament, who lived a humble life, and he was awarded the secrets of the universe. Enoch becomes a new created aspect known as Archangel Metatron, who holds a Merkaba cube, which is the balance of all opposing energies, masculine and feminine, earth and cosmos, light and shadow. I read any book or article that I was led to. I watched lots of videos that I was led to. I felt a push to read about Celtic mythology. I've always loved mythology, but I had never read Celtic mythology, so it was like opening up a new world for me. As I read about Loki and how he's sometimes associated with fire, it reminded me when I was a kid and I watched the beginning of Scooby-Doo, there's a fire guy, and I would hear a thought in my head saying, I'm friends with that guy. I didn't know why I felt like that fire guy was my friend, but I did. I felt that. I never saw this episode, so I still don't know the episode of this fire guy. So I had a dream one night about a man of fire who came to talk with me, and I was afraid of him. I tried to banish him thinking he was a demon, and he said, you can't banish me, Angela. I am a divine being. Okay. I stood confused and afraid, and he seemed aggravated. He seemed aggravated. So he manifested a bow and arrow made of fire, and he shot an arrow onto a wall, and a book of fire appeared and it opened up and it said Norse gods. I knew then that this was Loki. Loki is very misunderstood in our mythology, so it's been a treat to get to know the real Loki. He is a very ancient being. He says he's been here for 4 planets so far. He's an aspect of the Hindu god Shiva. Loki has been in this illusion as a teacher, but he was mistreated and ignored by humanity, so he went to a cave to retreat with his priestess. December 12th, 2021, Loki and his priestess, and aspects known as Azra and Azara, walked out of their cave, here known as Mount Kailash, so they could return as teachers to help teach an ignorant humanity. Michelle and I worked with Lokaous and Loki to help them learn how to work together. Markus came forward around this time and his energy was completely different. He seemed to be full of love, yet he had some issues with Loki. They all did. So Markus is an aspect of the Hindu god Krishna, who was also incarnated as Buddha. It is said that a new Buddha, Maitreya, will return to teach enlightenment in the new age of humanity. This is the teacher we channel named Markus. He's helped us learn self-love, healthy boundaries in relationships, how to care for ourselves and others, humility, and serving in love. Thank you for joining me. I hope you enjoyed this video. Join me tomorrow for part 2, and let's continue on this journey together.